Hello everyone, my name is Winnie Chan Wang. I am a licensed acupuncturist and former professor in acupuncture. I am really good not just at explaining, but making sure people pass the exam, because one of the ways that the school evaluates a teacher is what percentage of the students pass the license exam. So the first thing to know about the 5 elements is that 5 elements is not 5 states. What I mean, 五行. So this character 行 actually means action. So the 5 elements is actually the transformation of the 5 states. So first we have the wood. And to me, it's very important to go in the order, because the wood is also the spring. It's like spring is the time that you plant seeds. And the way you remember this order is when you burn wood, you get fire. So the wood fire is a generating relationship. Another way to say that is wood is the mother of fire. Wood, 木生火, 生 means birth, right? So wood gives birth to fire. Fire, when you burn fire to the end, you get earth, right? So now we say fire generates earth, 火生土. Or we can say fire is the mother of earth. Another way to say this is earth is the son of fire. Where do we find metal? From the earth, right? So this is another generating relationship. And finally, another way to think about this is water nourish wood. When you water, you get the plant. So again, so this is summer. This is the fall, and this is the winter. So this earth, another way, the earth is also the middle jiao, right? So sometimes you will see 5 elements where this is drawn in the middle. And so it's important to me that whenever I present the 5 elements, I always draw the circle, because when you draw the circle, you can say wood generate fire, fire generate earth, earth generate metal, metal generate water, and water generate wood. So then the next relationship is that wood is the grandmother of earth, and wood controls earth. So this is a very important relationship, because what that means is that if there is a lot of liver qi stagnation, a lot of wood, then it over-dominates the earth element. So it might result in something like irritable bowel syndrome, where you have alternating constipation, diarrhea. But so in part of our chart, we memorize the controlling relationship. So the way to remember a controlling relationship is that it's the grandmother. What is the grandmother? The mother's mother. So 2 steps back. The earth's mother's mother is wood. So wood controls earth, right? So once you do that, then you draw this arrow. Who is the grandmother? Okay, metal's mother's mother is fire. So fire controls metal. Earth controls water. metal controls wood, and water controls fire, right? So there you have the controlling relationship. So now I think this part everybody knows, right? Okay, liver, gallbladder. This we have heart, small intestine. Here we have spleen, stomach. Here we have lung, large intestine. And then here we have kidney and urinary bladder. Okay, so that I think everybody knows. Now the emotions. So maybe I change a different color. Okay, anger. So this one in Master Sha teaching, they put anxiety and depression. Classic traditional Chinese medicine, it's a different mapping. Okay, here is worry, obsession, obsession is another word for overthinking. So usually TCM textbook use overthinking, but Master Sha book use obsession. Okay, so here we have grief, lung grief, and kidney fear. And this is another way to understand further the 5 elements. Xing is action. That means wood is transforming or generating fire. Fire is generating earth. Earth is generating metal. Metal generating water. Metal generating wood. So another way to understand these emotions, right, is that where does anger come from? Right? Anger's mother is water. It's because people have fear. So that's why they get anger, right? Why do people have fear? It's because they have experienced the grief of losing something they love. Now, where does grief come from? Okay, let's say I got divorced 4 years ago. I still have grief. Why? Because I'm overthinking. I'm still obsessed about that relationship. Now, what is the result? What created the obsession? It's really a disconnection from the Shen, right? So it's the anxiety, depression. So I like to call this disconnection to Shen, right? And then what causes this is anger, right? Another way to think about anger is duality, right or wrong. So there you have it. Once you have the circle, you will never ever miss this. Okay. So now comes the fun part, okay? So in Chinese medicine, we have a saying, woman, liver. Okay, let me write that down. Woman, liver. Man, kidney. So what this actually means is that the liver, the function is to store blood. Why this is important is because all kinds of menstruation and a lot of times breast cancer, ovarian cyst, UTI, all kinds of female reproductive things has to do with this. And another way to think about it is what happens when a woman is having menstruation? She has PMS, right? So then liver, another function is regulate emotion. So one of the classic diagnosis is called liver qi stagnation, right? So when we feel, I really want to say it, but I can't say it, I feel stuck. Okay, so then this liver qi stagnation, what is the remedy of the liver qi stagnation is to smooth the qi, okay? Smooth the qi. All right, so that tells you that this helps with qi distribution, right? Yeah, okay. So now heart, this connection to Shen, right? And anxiety, depression. So one of the function is heart houses mental activity. And from Western anatomy, we know that the heart is related to blood and blood vessels. So something else interesting is you can see the Shen in the face, right? Because if I have no Shen, then I look very pale, but then the complexion, so the face complexion is also here. So, sorry to go back for a second. When we get really angry, what happens? Okay, so the eyes get really red. Okay, so when person get angry, now you have the red eyes, right? That's how you remember. Okay. Now for the heart, how do we kiss somebody when we want to give our insight to them? We use the tongue, okay? So tongue kissing. That's why the heart is the tongue. Okay, remember tongue kissing with the heart, you get it. Okay. So now the earth. 2 words. T and T. That means transformation and transportation of all kinds of things, but let's just say nutrients. Okay, so food. So stomach, spleen is for digestion, right? And it's also the middle jiao. So that's why the middle jiao, the middle sits between the upper and the bottom. So the middle is for moving things up and down. So it's for the transportation. And why we say it's for the transformation is because when I eat a banana and I go work out, I need to transform the calories from the banana into calories. That's why we have the transformation. Okay, so now that I have eaten the banana and I'm working out, so this is related to the muscles. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a banana to remind everybody, banana, workout, muscles. So that's how you remember it is the muscles. And okay, so what do we eat the banana with? With the mouth, okay? So we eat the banana, eat with mouth, okay? So there you have it. Okay. So now the metal, grief. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you this one funny story. So one time I had this lady, she came up with 14 years nasal allergy. And knowing that lung has to do with the nose and grief, so I said, lady, what was the saddest thing that ever happened to you 14 years ago? And she said, I was going through a divorce. And I said, a divorce? Well, where are you now? She said, I'm happily remarried. I said, bingo. Okay, your body didn't get the memo. It's been 14 years since you had a divorce, you were married. So why are you still holding on to the grief? After one session, she only took 1 Claritin. Before she took Claritin every day. And after 2 sessions, the nasal allergy was completely gone. So part of the work, right, is teaching people how to let go of the grief. Okay, so we said nose. Okay, and then so it's also the skin. One of the ways that you can remember the skin is what we say about the lung. Where does the lung sit? Right here, right? So the lung is the topmost organ out of the 5, because when I breathe, let's say there's COVID, okay? So I breathe, the first thing the germ encounter is my lung. So lung is actually responsible for defensive qi. And what is also on the outer side, which is our boundary that define the inside and the outside, is the skin, right? So think about lung is like our first line of defense or the first line attack by COVID. Okay, so skin, defense, lung. All right, so now, okay, men and kidney. So when we think about kidney, this one store essence. And actually the character Jing, right? When we say Jing Qi Shen, this Jing. Actually the medical term for semen is Jing. So once I told you semen, you understand why men is associated with kidney, right? Because what happens is I had a client, he watches 4 hours of pornography a day. And guess what? He has a lot of fear and very weak kidney because he keep losing the Jing. So that's how you remember kidney store Jing. So talk about storage. There's also, the body also store pee and poop, okay? So it's responsible for the 2 orifices. Okay, at least for ladies, we have 1 hole for urinating and 1 hole for pooping. Okay, so basically what we say is that the kidney qi controls the opening and closing of the 2 orifices. And then, yeah, okay, so by the way, I just want to say, in a real clinic, there is absolutely no shame in looking up textbook. When my clients come and they tell me, oh, Winnie, I take this medication and this medication, this medication, it's not like my brain is an encyclopedia that has memorized every single Western medicine diagnosis and every Western medicine prescription drug name. So in the real world, it's absolutely okay to look it up. So I'm just going through the completeness to make sure I told you everything you want to know. Okay, so there's also nails and tendon. Okay, so let me tell you, change a different color. Nails and tendon. So what I want to tell you about is nails is also related. So this is like where it's a little bit tricky, because there's a Chinese medicine saying that says 精血同源, which means the jing, which means essence, and the 血, which means blood, they actually come from the same source. So here you have nails, but it's if you have an abundance of blood, then you can have beautiful nails, right? So yeah, okay. Actually, I do have a story to tell about this. So I used to not practice Shanhunian, and I was chronically stressed, and I was leaking Jingqi Shen all the time. So during that time, I actually have very unhealthy looking nails. After I got the higher purification calligraphy, which says 眼内观耳内听口不语脑不想心无挂碍. When I got that 歪三宝不漏内自和, in 2 weeks, I reduced my menstruation by 80%, right? I literally, when I stopped losing blood and having problems in my menstruation, my nails suddenly became healthy. Okay, so hopefully you can associate menstruation with nails. So tendon, that's actually a gallbladder function. Okay, so let's see. Okay, gallbladder, tendon. So the way to think about it is actually the gallbladder meridian runs along the side of the body, right? So when we have flexible tendon, then we have lots of courage. Okay, not to confuse you, but in traditional Chinese medicine, gallbladder, the flexibility of the tendon allows you to move forward. Okay, so let's check the list to make sure I have everything you need to know. Okay. Okay, sweat. Sweat is the fluid of the heart. Okay. I'm gonna have to come back on that one. I don't have a story to tell. Okay, just memorize that. Okay, so we have mouth, we have lips. Okay, muscles, extremities. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Control blood. Okay, this is really important. Qi, spleen qi, is responsible for controlling blood. And why this is because the spleen qi actually holds the blood inside the vessel. So clinically, sometimes we have clients that are too tired, and we can see like early menstruation or like premature dripping. Like, sometimes they leak blood before it's 28 days. So when there is insufficient spleen qi, they can cause blood to leak. So just remember that qi controls blood, and it is the spleen qi that does this function. Okay, so lung, I think it's easy to remember, is for breathing. I think that's easy to think about. Oh, this is a good one and an important one. It's responsible for normal water metabolism. Okay. So this is the time when I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Tao 3 Classic. Okay, so what do we chant? We chant 虚虚虚虚金丹疏肝金丹. So what does 疏肝 mean? Okay, so 疏肝, gan means liver, shu means smooth. So where it's stuck, smooth. Shu gan, okay? So here we have jin dan yang xin jin dan. So what does yang xin means? So xin means heart, yang means nourish. So we want to nourish, so we want to smooth the liver, we want to nourish the heart. Okay. So 후 진 단健脾. Okay, so here we have 健脾金丹. So 健脾, pi means spleen. 健 means it means healthy. Yes, 健 means healthy. It also means maintain. Yeah. Okay. All right. So actually, okay. So then we have 四金丹玄飞金丹. So this is actually why I want to talk about this, is because the lung does this. 宣飞. So 飞means lung. 宣 means express. Okay, that's also why it's skin. So actually, this is why the lung is kind of at the fifth chakra, and we use the fifth chakra to speak, to express, right? So 宣 is like this go out. It has this like go out energy. Another way to think about this is like what happens when you eat spicy food. When you eat spicy food, it's like like explosion, go out. So the lung actually does two things. It goes out, but when I take a deep breath from here, my nose, how does it go to my lower dantian? So the lung is the way that it goes to the lower dantian. So there's actually two things that are happening when I take a deep breath and it goes to the lower dantian. One is that the lung qi descends. So the lung qi descend. Okay. So another thing that is happening is that the kidney is responsible for receiving qi. So another way to think about this is, for example, asthma is unable to receive the qi and then unable to descend the qi. So we want the lung to descend qi and we want the kidney to receive the qi. And here you can see another mother-child relationship. So the lung is also responsible for it plays and assists water metabolism by helping the water go down, right? So that's how it happens. Okay. And okay, yeah, so this is where it's great. Okay, so remember we said Jing, this is the semen, right? So this already tells you that this is responsible. This Jing is both, okay, I write it over here. There is prenatal Jing and there is postnatal Jing. And these two genes are responsible for the development. So think about bones, think about brain, think about marrow. right? So the Jing, so for example, let's say somebody has late development, like they are delayed in their brain development. So that's, usually associated with kidney. Okay. Dominates water. Okay, and so when we think urinary bladder, we can also think water, right? So we have water metabolism and, oh yeah, so there's two more things, which is, let me switch a color. It's the ear. Okay, kidney is the ear and the hair. So I'm going to tell you a story about ear. So one time I had a girlfriend. She had liquid coming out of the ear, but then she could not explain why there's water coming out of the ear. She went to ER. They gave her everything, antibiotics, anti-cancer meds, steroids. Nothing could stop mysterious liquid coming out of the ear. So she came to see me. I said, okay, well, how long has this been? She said 3 months. I said, okay, 3 months ago, what was the most fearful thing that you had to do? She said, Winnie, funny that you asked this question, because 3 months ago, I was contemplating if I should sell my business or not. You see, if I sold my business, I'm afraid that I left too much money on the table. And if I don't sell the business, I'm afraid that I will never get an opportunity to sell the company. And I specifically made the company to sell. So then I asked her, I said, okay, where's your company now? She said, oh, I sold it a month ago. I said, see, you sold the company a month ago, but your body didn't get the memo. Okay, it's time to not be fear. So I actually gave her, used the Da Guang Ming calligraphy. And one session, liquid stopped coming out of the ear. Okay, so there's my ear, fear, and kidney story. Okay, hair. So again, this hair and nails is a little bit tricky, right? Because one is tied to blood and one is tied to Jing. So yeah, whatever it takes, you can make a silly song or something. I have something. Okay, good. So in 5 elements, we have different colors. And kidney is associated with the color black. And I have black hair. So that's how I'm going to remember that hair is kidney. Okay, so there lies the explanation of all the functions. I hope that this was useful. And if you liked it, please give my channel a like and follow and subscribe me on social media, and do make any request you like for. If you have a client, a medical case study, and you don't know what to do with it, like Winnie, I had that client. The water won't stop coming out of the ears, and then you want some explanation. I am happy to hold a forum, discuss medical cases, and we can, maybe we can teach a class on tapping the meridians if you want to know the pathway. I love doing this. Okay, thank you everybody for watching and listening. I hope everybody can ace their exam.